Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to our Sunday night live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton himself. We got a lot to get into. We do know, now confirmed, where the Longhorns will be taking their bowl trip. They will be heading to Orlando to play in the Citrus Bowl. Well, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, I should say. Let me get it right. We'll get into that. We'll talk about the line already out for that game. I know you guys probably want to talk about the college football playoff. The Longhorns, not even the first or the second team out in the college football playoff rankings. They actually were not even listed. So we'll get to that. I know a lot of Longhorn fans feel a certain kind of way about it. We'll also get to any questions, comments you guys may have. Throw them out there. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. Super chats always jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. We can talk about whatever you want. We can also start discussing Texas, Michigan already, their upcoming opponent in the bowl game. All right, Jerry, first and foremost, what are your thoughts? Longhorns obviously not even a factor in the college football playoff rankings. At least we can put that to bed. They are playing the Michigan Wolverine sexy matchup in the Cheez-It Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, Texas is 2-0 all time against Michigan. The Rose Bowl where Vince ran wild and got MVP'd, and Texas returned the following year to win the national championship. And then last year, 31-12. So it'll be Sark versus Wink Martindale Part 2. Still with – they've seen each other once now, and they have some time to prepare once again.
I like that.
Two former five-star quarterbacks, Arch Manning, Bryce Underwood. Michigan, really good running team, 14th in the country in rush yards per game. Texas, 9th in run defense. Michigan, not as good throwing the football. Probably good news. 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions as a team throwing the football this year. Good news for Texas. You know what Michigan is, Rod. They're ground and pound. They run it 60% of the time. They have 464 rushes this year and 297 passing attempts. I mean, that two common opponents. Michigan played at Oklahoma. Their only success was running the football outside a 75-yard run by Justice Haynes. They didn't do much on offense, and that was early for Bryce Underwood. And then Ohio State, obviously. So Ohio State played Texas to start the regular season, Michigan to end the regular season. I think the biggest thing with these bowl games, and I think, Rod, what'd you say? Texas a 4.5-point favorite?
4.5-point favorite as of right now.
I think the biggest thing with these bowl games, and it's hard to set lines for Vegas because you don't know who's going to play. Rod, that's the biggest thing is who's actually going to play in this game. I mean, there's going to be clearly opt-outs. Anthony Hill, we wouldn't expect him to play. There could be some other opt-outs. You could have some guys leave and say, hey, well, I'm leaving. I'm going in the portal, so I'm not going to play in the bowl game. Both teams will have some of that. And for Michigan, does Justice Haynes play? Or does he opt out and go to the NFL draft? He's ranked in the top 5 draft-eligible running backs after the regular season. So some of these Michigan senior defenders who are going to be drafted. I mean, that's the hard thing with these bowl games is who the hell is going to actually suit up and play? And how many players are each of these teams going to have available? That's the unknown with bowl games. But from a historical standpoint, great matchup. I think this game, Rod, from a TV rating standpoint, will be higher than a couple of first-round bowl games.
I can believe that. Just because it's Texas, Michigan, right? If you're talking about the most viewed and most watched college football programs, Texas, Michigan is always in that conversation. Right there, they're always in the top 10, somewhere around there. If you're talking about most watched football programs in the country, so I'm with you. I think it'll be a really big number for Texas. There's some familiarity, like you said. You played them last season. So I wonder, who is that an advantage for Texas, advantage for Michigan? I think that'll be interesting too. And yeah, I'm with you. We have no idea, what guys are going to play, what guys are going to opt out. So this game usually ends up being, it's kind of a who's most invested. But what locker room's kind of most invested too? You really won't know that until you find out who's playing. So we'll get to some more talk about that game. Yeah, 4.5-point favorite for Texas right now. Something tells me, I'm trying to think. You think that number? What do you think that number is going to increase? Are we going to see that number get closer to, a pick 'em or a 3-point favorite for Texas over the next couple of weeks before they play that game?
Well, it'll be interesting because if you look at the Michigan defense, Rayshon Benny, Derek Moore, Jayshon Barnum, those 3 defenders from Michigan, 3 of their top 5 guys, more than probably. They could all opt out and just say, I'm going to the draft. I'm not going to play. Justice Haynes could do the same thing. But if a lot of this is going to depend on how many of the starters on defense for both of these teams actually play in this game.
Yeah. No, you're right about that.
I mean, from an offensive standpoint, right? I mean, I think the majority of these guys will play. We'll see at running back what happens. But I think the defense is the main thing in these bowl games. How many guys opt out for these teams? Because that makes it really difficult. Because if the guys that opt out for your defense in games like this and in these bowl games that don't apply to a college football playoff, they're normally your best defenders that are draft eligible. So that can really cause the line in these games, the look at these games to change, in my opinion, Rod.
Yeah, that's what's going to shift that line. You're right. You start to see like a mass, group of players decide they're not playing for one specific side, and it mostly would probably be Michigan. I mean, Texas could have that. I guess you could end up having that maybe in the secondary.
Yeah.
Because of the veteran guys you got back there, depending on, Tav, Malik Muhammad, who knows if, Jelani McDonald's going to, make a decision. Who knows? I don't think so right now, but who knows how that goes. So, yeah, that's a position I could see it happening. And I guess you could get devastated by a Trevor Gooseby move whenever that move comes. We don't know. He's been obviously very well spoken of in the very early, way too early draft rankings. I think Matt Miller was the one that had it really high. So yeah, both sides be some big decisions to make. Okay, so we'll talk.
Hey Rod, by the way, I want to mention one thing. Both teams want to win this game. This is I see people are saying in the chat, oh, just treat it like a spring game. Both of these teams want to win this football game. Let's see what the personnel looks like, but I don't think anybody is treating this game like a spring game or meaningless game. No chance.
Sark said, I'll make sure I get Sark's quote right. It's an opportunity for us to go win 10 games for the 3rd consecutive season, something that hasn't been done in Texas since 2007 to 2009. We've had a great season, accomplished a lot of great things. It still does mean something to win double-digit games. I know they're playing more games these days, but that's still one of those kind of marquee accomplishments of a really good team. Like we're a good team. You can win double-digit games. So I do feel that as a player. I mean, that was always kind of one of our goals as a team. And he also said this, and I like this about it. You said, some people said treat it like a spring. Not necessarily treat it like a spring, but Sark did mention this, the fact that they didn't make the college football playoff, one of the big benefits, and there are a ton. Obviously, you want to be playing for a championship if possible. He said it gives them an opportunity to step back and audit the program in a way that they hadn't been able to do in the last couple of years, because they made the college football playoff and they were just obviously full steam ahead, focused on the playoff. Then you got transfer portal and all this kind of stuff happening too. But he said this is a drastically different December than we've had from 2 years ago, and most notably from what we had last year. And he said this is going to give them more time on their hands to audit the organization from the top to the bottom. So schemes, play calls, personnel, roster. I thought that was interesting too. And he's right about that. And hopefully they take advantage of that extra time, especially when it comes to attacking the transfer portal and talent acquisition.
And look, I think you get all the extra practices so they can really look at some young kids as far as goals. So you're not rolling right into playoffs. You can really analyze these guys, these young kids as well, because they're gonna have to make some decisions on rev share and NIL and contracts for some of these guys. Who's gonna get a bigger contract than others, and how could that impact guys who might leave because they have better options? So this is a big 3 weeks coming up from that standpoint for Sarkisian and the Texas staff, because they're going to have some decisions to make, and those kids are going to have decisions to make depending on what Texas offers guys from an NIL standpoint versus what some other programs might offer them. So I think there's a lot that's going into this, but I definitely say this. when it gets close to game time, Texas wants to win this football game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm with you on that too. Yeah, it's interesting you brought up just talking about the bowl game and guys opting out, and we'll get to all that, but just how the calendar now is kind of shifts a little bit for Sark. He's got a little bit more, I don't know, freedom, flexibility because he's got some more time. I don't know when they're doing the exit. I don't know if they call them exit meetings, but the end of year meetings with the players. He does meet with every player. And I'm not sure when it's happening. I believe it's happening pretty soon, though. Either they've already kind of probably started that process or it's about to start happening too. That's really important as well. You just talked about in terms of retention and, essentially letting guys know exactly where they stand on that roster. Those meetings are going to be really important. That's usually when you start to see guys hit the portal because they've been told, hey, man, this is the reality of your situation right now. All right, let's, before we get to the questions, keep them coming, guys. Let's thank our sponsor, our lead sponsor, our friends over at Rogue Shop before we move on. Thank you to our friends over at Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. You can see the discount code right there on your screen on Texas. Use that discount code and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at Rogue Shop. They have it all from oils and creams to flour, gummies, and vitamins. No matter what you're dealing with, maybe it's sleep deprivation, general anxiety, maybe it's aches and pains from battling Father Time. Our friends over at Rogue Shop, they have so many great products that can help you overcome and battle those ailments successfully. So reach out to them today, rogueshop.com. They also can ship nationwide, no matter where you are in this great country of ours. Our friends over at Rogue Shop can get their great products to you, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. That's what they're all about. So use that discount code on Texas and check out rogueshop.com. All right, let's get back to the super chats here. Juan, thank you very much. We really appreciate the super chat. Juan Garza says, at Jerry and Rod, two things. What do you think of Notre Dame opting out of the bowl? Is that petty or no? Also, do you think Arch Manning plays in the bowl or no? They don't risk him getting injured. Oh, interesting.
I don't think the Mannings play that game. I think every game matters for his development. I just don't see Arch Manning opting out of a bowl game this year. Not Notre Dame opting out. I mean, I don't really care about that, honestly. I mean, that's whatever. It's all politicking at this point. The problem for Notre Dame is they should have already been out Tuesday. The committee sucks. Miami should have already been ahead of them. They had already beaten them head to head. So then it caused more BS is what it did, because the committee really screwed that up. And I know I was a broken record on that, but there's no reason Notre Dame should have been ahead of Miami in the rankings last Tuesday. There's no chance. It's not even in their – they didn't even follow their own criteria on that one. Yeah. So that's what caused Notre Dame to absolutely lose their mind is because neither team played. And what changed from Tuesday to Sunday? Nobody played.
Yeah.
No, there's no justification for it. They can try. Hunter Yurchek's in a horrible spot getting on TV and having to talk about it because it was screwed up from the start on that team versus team deal. So that set Notre Dame off, but they should have always been behind Miami. They lost head to head and they had the same record. And the strength of schedule was one apart. There's really literally no reason for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's probably a better team right now, but if the criteria of the committee, they should have never been ahead of them.
And the opting out of the bowl game is, I understand it's kind of a middle finger to the committee and probably the college football elite, if you will, or those who are making those decisions. Man, but you missed out on those. Was it 15 practices?
Yep.
Man, I don't know. That's just to me. And Marcus Freeman is a damn good coach, one of the best in the country. Man, passing up 15 practices.
Yeah.
That's to me, I can't justify that. I'll take them practice.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right. Even if it's guys opting out, I'll still work the bottom of the roster. I'm cool with working them young guys in there. Matter of fact, at the bowl games, a lot of the times when I was at bowl games, that's who got the majority of the reps in those practices are the young guys.
Yeah.
The older guys, you don't really get a lot of reps in those bowl practices. From what I remember, there was a lot of showcase for the young guys. It did feel like kind of a spring in a sense until you got close to the game, and then it was like, all right, this is a game week. But those practices right before game week, those first 10 or so, it did feel like a spring in terms of how they were trying to save the bodies of the guys who were their top tier starters. So,
by the way, I want to say this about the whole playoffs and the 12 teams that are in. I'm happy because this is going to push it to 14 or 16 quickly.
oh yeah,
This is what needed to happen. So people stop messing around with this and let's move on. Let's get this to 16 teams and get on with the show the way it should be. Let's step away from all this crap with 12 teams. Let's go to 16. If they still want to play kumbaya with a G5, they can at that point. But and it's also going to change, I think, the way the conference champions and teams, which I do think these championship games are going to go away when it gets to 16. But if there's one more year of it, it could easily change how the who plays in the conference title game is calculated, because it's going to be unbalanced, or not. Everybody's not going to play everybody in these conferences, these big conferences. So there's a lot of great for college football that's going to come out of this, in my opinion.
I agree with you about the expansion of the playoffs, but it's interesting about Notre Dame because there's some people that believe the conspiracy theory that this is them kind of sending Notre Dame another message that, you know, they don't like the status of Notre Dame. That Notre Dame gets this, you know, they get not some, it's an easier route, but they get status. They get favored status in this whole thing. There was actually an article in Yahoo Sports, and they claim in this article that there was a memorandum of understanding that was actually agreed upon and signed by college football playoff officials. And that Notre Dame, part of this memorandum of understanding, first time I've ever heard that term, Notre Dame was assured of making the playoff if it was ranked in the top 12 starting next year in 26. Like they would just, if you're in the top 12, oh, thank you, Matt, you're the man. Yeah, that they would just guarantee. It's like that. I mean, that is favorite status for Notre Dame. But there you go. So they just kind of missed out on it by this year. And I do understand some people said it's not Marcus Freeman. I agree. Marcus Freeman probably had actually no opinion on that decision. It was probably way over his head. I get that too. So I shouldn't have blamed Marcus Freeman for that. But either way, Notre Dame, I think it's short-sighted. The 15 practices matter.
Yeah.
Like, you can say you're trying to, this is some gesture or something that you're trying to make a statement. I get that. But 15 practices, even for the players, I'd be like, hey, I need them practices. You know what I mean? It used to be about bowl gifts and all the bowl swag. Yeah. That's no longer the case because guys, NIL, they got money. The bowl like nothing now. Now, it used to be my re-gifting. You see my man, it was re-gifting season. All my bowl gifts, uncles, my cousins, everybody got nice bowl gifts. And I have none of my bowl gifts. I have none of them. I re-gifted them to all of my family for the holidays because I didn't have any money to buy gifts. Those were my gifts. Some of them was really cool too. It was re-gifting season, baby. So, but there you go. Anyway, that's Notre Dame once again getting was supposed to in 2026 get a little favorite status as well. All right,
because they say the reality, Rod. Let's talk about this for a second on Notre Dame.
Sure.
Because they are an independent, they don't get any conference rev share. So if they don't get in the college football playoff, see, they want to have it their cake and eat it too. They want to play 4 ACC teams, but we're not going to be in the conference as a football team. So when they go into the playoffs last year, all that money that teams were awarded for getting in the playoff, they kept all of it.
Yeah.
And now they get none of it because they're not in the conference. So that's a big deal for Notre Dame when they don't get in the college football playoff because they don't get anything from the conference. And they kept it all and didn't have to give any of it to the ACC last year.
That's a good point. Didn't think about that. That's a lot of straight cash, homie. Yep. All right, getting back to Juan's got another one. Juan, thank you very much. Very kind of you. We appreciate the super chat. It's also interesting to see Curt Cignetti demeanor when he won the Big Ten and walking off the sidelines to meet Coach Day. Interesting expression, not overly excited. Yeah, almost like he expected success. Like he ain't shocked by his success at all.
Yeah, look, it's time for us to give this guy credit, ultimate credit. I agree with Urban Meyer. Best college coaching job turnaround in the history of the sport.
Hard not to argue that.
Yeah. In the history, no offense, Bill Snyder did a great job, but what Curt Cignetti has done in 2 years at Indiana is nothing short of truly remarkable. And so a tip of the cap to him. And See what happens. Made great decisions at quarterback in the portal. I mean, his quarterback's about to win the Heisman. Miami chose Carson Beck over him, and I know Mendoza had a brother in Indiana, but you know, if they had thrown $4 million at Mendoza, he probably would have said, "Brother, I'll give you $250,000, but I'm going to Miami." He's from Miami, Christopher Columbus High. Those decisions are big ones, and I know Miami's in the playoff, but Miami wouldn't have any losses right now if they had Fernando Mendoza.
All right. Yep. Quarterback play, coaching matters. He's a hell of a coach. Yep. There ain't no doubt about that. Real quick, since we're talking about this and Cignetti, at this time, now that you know what the 12-team field is for the playoffs, what teams do you feel can win it all? Because Indiana, I think, surprised some folks by beating Ohio State, and now people are thinking, man, Indiana, they got a quarterback and they got a hell of a coach. They may not be able to go, you know, in terms of talent, go down the roster and check every box and win. I think the kind of the advantages in every position, but in terms of coach and quarterback, they may have that advantage in most of these matchups. Like until they get to Kirby Smart and Ryan Day, that kind of stuff.
I like Indiana. I mean, I think their second round game is going to be difficult, and I think they'll score enough to get it done eventually. If Tech, I don't know if Tech's going to beat Oregon. Indiana literally might have to beat Oregon again and Ohio State again to win a national championship. That's a very tough road to have to beat two teams twice. But if you're Indiana, if you get to the title game, you'd rather see Georgia and Ohio State. I just think it's tough. I mean, to beat the same team twice. And I think Georgia's playing really, really good football, and I think they might actually be my favorite right now.
Yeah.
I think they're probably my favorite right now. But at the same time, I think this thing could go any of about three ways. I don't think anybody on this first line over here of the teams that are playing first-round games is going to win a national championship. Hell, I don't even think Ole Miss should be in. So I don't pick any of those to win the national championship. But if you're Indiana, you would rather have Texas Tech in a semifinal if you get there, and then Georgia. I don't think you want to be playing neutral side Oregon and neutral side Ohio State. Have to beat both those teams twice. That doesn't really line up well in the history of sports.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like Indiana now, they can win it. I do, just because they got the quarterback, man. They really do. And Georgia, because they're playing their best football at the right time. They're hot, and they got championship DNA. They already done it. They got pedigree. Ohio State's kind of the same way with that. I know they just got beat, but they got the pedigree for it, and they got the talent. And I'm with you. Oregon scares me a little bit. If Oregon gets hot, Oregon's got, they just got firepower offensively. So I think it's four. I can see four teams winning it. Right? I feel like it could be four.
Yeah. So somebody says, does A&M have the toughest path? 100%. They have to beat Miami, who's more talented than they are. Even though that'll be a home game, that'll be a wild ride at College Station. But Miami has to beat. A&M has to beat Miami, Ohio State, Georgia, and probably Indiana to win a national championship. 0% chance. I give them literally zero. Because they haven't played the schedule to be prepared for those 4 games in a row, and they're the most, from a penalty standpoint, I think they're the most undisciplined team. And I will never be a disciplined team to win a national championship like that. Not in the tournament. No chance.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the super chats here. How about this one from JT_Longhorns? Thank you for the super chat. Jerry and Rod, do you know who might be on the chopping block in terms of players?
Ooh. I think it's a little early for that one. Thank you for the super chat. But I think it's a little early for that one right now. I don't know if it's even chopping block. I think it's NIL. Some of these NIL deals are going to have to go down from some kids in the that are already in the program because of rev share. While you have outside NIL, I don't think the number is going to be the same as it was this last year for anybody in college football. Probably. I mean, maybe Texas Tech, because it's worked so well for them in softball and football. Why would you change it if you can get it where keep that number where it's at?
Exactly.
I think it's a little. Or I'm not saying chopping block necessarily, but I guess it could be a semi-chopping block if you say, man, we got a third of the NIL right now versus for your deal versus when you came out of high school. That may not be, hey, you're cut, you need to move on, but it may be the nice letdown.
Mm-hmm. We're restructuring your deal, basically.
Yeah.
They haven't even, obviously we still got the bowl stuff, and I think they're having their exit meeting somewhere around either this week or next week or somewhere around there right before the holidays and get the guys out. So I think that you'll start to see some movement there from guys, or at least some more reports about guys after that. Thank you for the super chat, JT_Longhorns. We appreciate it. How about this one from Ipadilla? Says, guys, can you give a rundown on who doesn't play in Orlando? Also, shouldn't this bump our already strong recruiting presence in Florida? Hook them.
I think the first part too early. I think obviously in Anthony Hill, if you're a high draft pick, but look, this is one thing I think we were talking about at CJ and I. If you're a DJ Campbell, you need to play in this game. You're a mid-late round guy. If you're Cole Hudson, you need to play in it. If you're not a first second round guy, you need to play because you're playing really good competition, and there's going to be a lot of NFL scouts at that game. You need to play, and I would say that for both sides. Recruiting presence in Florida, I think there's something to that. I mean, obviously NIL drives decisions, but I do think that's a big deal for Texas. If you're going to go play in a bowl game and you're out in the CFP, Florida's not a bad place to go because you are spending more feet on the ground time in the state of Florida than ever. So you get another chance to play in Florida. Your first one this year was ugly at the Swamp, like ugly. It's why you're not in the playoff because you didn't show up for your SEC opener. Purely didn't show up and pooed the bed. And that's why you're not in the playoff. So you get a second chance there. Under Armour, for those that don't know, the Under Armour game, Under Armour All-America practices, those are all in Orlando at the same time. The players, I think, report for the Under Armour game on the 27th. Ton of those kids are juniors now. Those All-Star games have turned into junior, senior games. There's a lot of kids coming through there, but I think it's a good opportunity. Anytime you have Arch Manning and you can take your show on the road in a big game like that, which will be considered a big game, I think that can be positive for recruiting because state of Florida, I mean, you got the situation at FSU. There's not a lot of momentum there. John Summerall, I actually think that's a pretty good hire, but he has to get it going. He hasn't coached the game at Florida yet. Miami, if they had not gotten the college football playoff, all hell would have broken loose in that state. So they're in the playoff, but I think it's a good opportunity to take Arch Manning on the road one more time in the state of Florida this season. And let's hope it goes a hell of a lot better than the first one.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. How about this one from Lane? Lane says, thank you, Lane, for the super chat. Don't forget, 5 auto bids was created when it was Power 5. Should have gone to 4 when the Pac-12 folded. I still like automatic bids. Less spots the committee can mess up. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, the committee, if you give the committee too much, room to interpret, they're bound to screw it up, like we've seen over and over again. No consistency from the committee. That's my biggest complaint.
Yeah. Let's just get it to 16. Let's get it on. Let's get the show on the road here.
Sound like they're yeah. I agree with you on that. I don't know how quickly they can jump into 16, but I'm with you, Jay. I think that's inevitable. No doubt.
They are meeting on January. It's right after the playoffs conclude, maybe the January 23rd, to talk about whether it's going to 16 in 26. Or maybe it goes to 14 and 26, gradual up to 16 and 27. But I think all this mess this year is going to accelerate it. I'll be surprised if it's 12 another year. I might be wrong on that, but I'll be surprised.
Yeah, especially when you got Notre Dame complaining and openly throwing a bit of a tantrum about their not being selected for the playoff. All right, let's get to before we get to the questions, Jerry, would you mind telling the fine folks out there about our friends over at Culligan, please?
Yeah, what's in your water? What are you drinking these days? Well, you ever get that glass of water out of the tap and you see the particles in the water and you're like, uh-oh, what am I putting in my body? Well, I got the people for you. That's Culligan. When it comes to the water your family drinks and uses every day, you don't want to cut corners on this one. That's why for over 90 years, people have trusted Culligan. And here at Austin, Culligan Ultra Pure has been serving the community for more than 60 years. Culligan Ultra Pure provides high-quality residential water treatment at an affordable price, including reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, and UV purification lights. Whether your water comes from a well or a municipal source, Culligan has the perfect treatment solution for your home. And right now, you can schedule a free water test and save up to $600 when you mention On Texas Football. Culligan Ultra Pure proudly serves Austin, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Brownwood, Pampa, and Plainview. So don't wait. Call Culligan Ultra Pure today at 512-339-2378. Ask for Michael. He's an On Texas Football community member. Again, to schedule that free water analysis, call 512-339-2378. Ask for Michael. Better water starts with Culligan. That ugly water in your cup is not Culligan.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. All right. A couple of questions here. This one from CB, actually. And it is a good one. Will early enrollees practice with the team like some did last year?
I think it's potential. Yeah, I think it's potential, but it's more select, I think. And it could, a lot of that could come down to who doesn't play for Texas, who jumps in the portal. Do you need that depth from a 15 practice standpoint? I don't think all the guys that are early enrollees will. There's some guys that are playing in all-star games, whatnot. There may be some guys that are nursing some late season injuries or whatnot, but I do think you'll see a few, just like last year.
All right. Thanks for that one. Joseph MF Curtis says, hey, Rod, do you really think we should risk an injury on Arch or Colin Simmons for a bowl game? No way, in my opinion. Play freshmen and sophomores, rest your stars. Man, that's a new era. And I'm sure, honestly, I don't know if there are people in their circle would advise them to sit out these games. Like, I don't know. Actually, I will admit, I don't know how that works these days, because it is not, you're not in a playoff game. That's different. We know, we've seen players opt out of bowl games. Now, usually that's a player who is moving on to the next level. But for guys like Arch and Colin, who are obviously coming back to opt out of bowl games, I don't remember that happening a lot, but these days I would not put it out the realm of possibility. So I think they're gonna play. Just it's
these
like,
are faces of the program.
Yeah, yeah. I think those guys are gonna play, and I think it's more like Jerry said about the scouts too. I mean, it's still. I mean, you're playing against a team with a lot of high level talent, NFL caliber talent on it. I think those guys are going to play, and they still got goals in front of them too. As a team, if they weren't coming back, obviously I could say, yeah, of course they should move on to the next level and not play. You don't want to risk it. You know, I don't remember a lot of examples of guys who are coming back that skip the bowl games, but I'm sure there probably have been some examples of it. Maybe I just haven't kept up with it.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening.
I don't see it either.
I think Sark would. I think he would advise against it. But if those guys, like I said, if they were advised by their representatives and people to do something like that, it would not surprise me. I don't see it right now. Like, I don't.
And by the way, there's some NIL deals out there, and part of that is playing. A big part of that is playing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Joseph. We appreciate the question. We got a super chat here, actually, from Isaiah. Thank you, Isaiah, for the super chat. Says, Jerry, who is a must-get recruit for Texas in the 2027 class?
I don't think there is a Colin Simmons. And that's like my must-get. Like, if you're going to say must-get, that's a must-get guy, right? That level guy, which there's actually very few of. I thought DeCorian Moore was a super, super duper freak, like Colin Simmons was coming out. I don't think there's that in this class. And from people might just look at rankings and say, well, that guy, John Meredith is. I don't think he's as good as Devin Sanchez. So I think he's very, very good. Don't get me wrong. But again, that's Colin Simmons. Think about that level guy. So I would say throw about 4 or 5 offensive linemen in a hat in the state of Texas and just want to pull a couple of those guys, because it's such a great offensive line class. But in-state, I mean, look, there's like Jalen Brewster's really, really highly ranked. I don't think he's as good as Jamion Winfield personally. And Jalen Brewster's ranked top 5 in the state in the junior class, and Jamion Winfield was underrated, like 55 in the country. And Brewster's top 5 in America, right? So, I mean, I think Jamion Winfield's a more talented player than Jalen Brewster is personally. So I'm not sure there is that guy in state this year for Texas or anybody else. I think there's what's going to make the 27 class in Texas great is the depth of high-end talent in the state. I think there's a great depth, but there can be great depth and not be a Colin Simmons, and there certainly isn't a Colin Simmons in Texas in that class. Doesn't mean guys won't go in the first round, but at this point as a junior in high school, there's not Colin Simmons in this class.
All right, thank you for the super chat, Isaiah. We appreciate it. MJF says, can you guys talk about the timeline of when players will opt out for the portal and for draft? Coaches will leave, invites the recruits to come to the Citrus Bowl. The draft, I think it's January 15th, I guess what it usually is. I think they give a special exception for teams that make a playoff run. And I believe if you're on a team that makes a playoff run in college, then they give you, I want to say it's like to the 24th or something like that. You get like almost an extra 2 weeks to decide. But I believe it's January 15th. They have to declare for the draft or not. And then the bowl game, of course, is on the 31st for Texas. And so for Texas, it'll be on the 15th because they're not going to make a playoff run. And the bowl game is on the 31st of December. Correct? Yes. Yeah. So that's kind of starts timeline for coaches. This is probably around that time actually. For coaches leaving, things like that, but you never know. That's a different timeline altogether. And obviously right now, any coaches leaving or stuff like that would be speculation, rumor, nothing like confirmed. All right. Thank you for that, MJF. We appreciate that. We have a super chat from Rocky Poor. Thank you, Rocky Poor, for the super chat. Says, why would these teams decline bowl games and give up precious practices? Don't they get like 15 practices? That's almost a spring practice. Rocky Poor, we brought it up earlier. I'm with you. I don't understand. It'd be hard for me to justify that as an athletic director or a school president or a coach. Whoever makes that decision, you're going to pass up 15 practices? Wow.
I agree with you on that, Rod, for sure.
That's all. It feels like that's irresponsible, but I'm sure they got their reason for it. And like I said, I don't know who made that final decision for Notre Dame. Like it could have went all the way up to the president, or it could have been the head coach. I'm not sure that they have stated, but they obviously have been in unanimity as a program that's what they wanted to do. All right. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. How about this one from John 6? He says, Jerry, how is Diabell injury coming along?
He's back working out. I think if there was a high school game next week, he could, or in 2 weeks or something, he could play. He obviously won American Heritages in the state championship game, I think this weekend. He obviously is not going to play in that, but he's back out on the field, working out, training again. So he's 100% healed. It was something that I think just could have lingered and gotten worse if he kept playing this season. And I think they pretty much shut him down to get him fully healthy before he enrolls at Texas in January. Not that he's going to get hit for a year necessarily, but I think they just wanted to get him fully healthy.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? Do you have a player comp for Diabell?
A lot of people said CJ Stroud, but I don't want to put that on anybody.
I saw that. Yes, I've seen the CJ Stroud one, which I can see that.
I mean, there's similarities in the way they play. I get it. Yeah. Stroud might have a slightly stronger arm, but again, Diabell's still a young player. He's probably going to add a little arm strength. Arch Manning's added some arm strength since Isidore Newman. Yeah. So it's not like these guys' arm strength is a done deal when they leave high school. They're going to add a little bit of strength to that arm just from continuous workouts in development, technique-wise. I mean, so many of these kids don't really rotate through their core all the way throwing the football unless you do it naturally, that you can gain a little power. People say, well, it's arm strength. Well, it's core. It's your hips and core is part of that as well. So you can gain a little bit of velocity once you start firing your core properly and your balance and your weight transfer creates more of a perfection with your core rotation rod. You can add a little velocity on the ball. It's not like you're done when you leave high school. What your arm talent is what it is. It doesn't work that way.
I feel like Colt did that.
Yeah.
I feel like Colt did that later on this. I remember watching him like, man, the ball is like just I feel like it's like just jumping off his hand now. It's just firing off of his hand. When early on in his career, I feel like it didn't do that. And obviously, I don't know if he changed anything, but I think you made a good point there. Yeah, it's the core that's engaged a little bit more. But I felt like Colt actually made that metamorphosis.
It's like baseball, Rod. Everybody says bat speed. Well, what creates bat speed? It's your hips and your core.
Yeah.
Now you may have good bat speed naturally, but then if you're going to maximize your talent, it's not about how fast your arms are swinging a baseball bat or a golf club. It's about maximizing your hips and core and those syncing those movements together, and then maximizing your core rotation. That creates your speed with the golf swing, your hips and core, your velocity with your exit velo in baseball, and also your velocity throwing a football. It all falls in line. And tennis, all of it's the same.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a great point about the core. All right, good stuff. How about this one from Tommy? It says, does Wisner need to play? That is a good question. I think Wisner will play because I feel like it's a blue collar mentality of Wisner. Even if he is going to the NFL, I feel like Wisner is just going to play because he's like Jerry said, if you're not getting drafted in the first 2 rounds, you should play. Even if you are going to the league, you should play. You need to film. You need scouts to see you against like talent, that kind of stuff. So I think Trey Wisner is going to play. Does he need to play? I think Texas, they don't have what's their running game without Trey Wisner?
Look, I think he needs to play because he's not a first or second round guy. I think those guys still, the more good tape you can put out there, if you're that fringe guy, the better. And I know the injury risk, but I don't know. I think if you're not a first, second round guy and you opt out, I don't know if I disagree with that. I think you need to put your tape on it. There's only so many games you get against really good teams.
Yeah. I do get when guys opt out. Like I don't begrudge them. I get that decision too when guys decide to opt out. But I'm with you.
It's not like I say they're idiots if they opt out, if you're a 4th or 5th rounder. I get it.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I think you got more to gain than necessarily to lose if it's a middle round pick. But some people are like, hey, once you make a decision, you need to, put everything on ice until you start getting paid for those reps. I totally get that under that decision too. Okay. How about getting back to the questions? This one from MJF says, Jerry, does a bowl game count against the red shirt limit of 4 games?
No.
Yeah.
Start different clock.
It's good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful thing. That's why they can have the early enrollees around there as well, right?
Yeah.
For those.
If they graduated from high school. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll get some of the questions. Let me thank our friends over at Rogue Shop as well before we move on to answer a couple of more questions for this nice program. Thank you to our friends at Rogue Shop, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. You can use that discount code you see it right there on your screen on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at Rogue Shop. And they have it all from oils and creams to flour and gummies. They also ship nationwide, so no matter where you are in this great country of ours, our friends over at Rogue Shop can get their fantastic products to you. So if you're dealing with sleep deprivation, maybe it's general aches and pains from battling father time. Maybe for you, it's just anxiety overall. Our friends at Rogue Shop, they have so many great items that can help you battle and overcome those ailments successfully. We had a member of the Owen Texas football family tell me they swear by the items at Rogue Shop now. They couldn't get any sleep, and they tried Rogue Shop, and now they're sleeping like a baby. So try it for yourself. It can help you out, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. That's our friends over at rogueshop.com. Thank you very much. All right. Lame Grandpa says, what are the reasons for a 16-team playoff if you don't feel that any of the first-round teams this year have a shot to win it all? Is it the committee you're blaming there, Jerry, for the selection of the teams?
Well, the committee didn't set the rules necessarily, right? Of the G5s getting in and having 2 G5s in because of the way the ACC fell this year. So everything can't be on one group of people, right? But look, the reason I want 16 is, and I know that some people are like, well, 16 is too many, and I get it. But look, what if you're a 3-loss team that had major injuries and it truly affected you? Didn't show up for a game and just played bad most of the season. I'm talking about, what if you had legitimate like injuries are the reason you lost a couple of games?
Yeah.
You sit there at 9-3. What if that team gets healthy? I mean, the problem with not having a very talented team that maybe had some injuries, had to work through it during the season, or like I thought Miami should have been in over Notre Dame based on the criteria of the committee and the head-to-head win. But I'm not sure it's saying I'd pick Miami to beat Notre Dame right now in a game on a neutral field. I will say that I wouldn't. So I want all the teams that have a chance to win and go deep in this thing in the tournament. That's what I want in the playoff. So, I mean, just think about from an NCAA tournament, like in basketball perspective, think about if you cut it off and you said, we're not going to have 64 anymore. We're going to cut it down to 48. You know how many teams have advanced to the Final Four that weren't in the top 48? I mean, so I know it's different in football to basketball, but that's what I think going from 12 to 16 is. I think we need a 16-team playoff this year. If we quit playing kumbaya with G5s, would have been an unbelievable playoff. If you had Notre Dame in, even if you threw BYU a bone, and then Texas was in, how great of a 16-team playoff would that have been this year? Because you could argue that, hey, Notre Dame's the 13 seed, but some people have picked them to win the whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we don't think they would have. Some people would look at Texas and say, man, they finally started to get it together. They didn't look like a college football playoff team all year, but teams that are very talented, if you get hot, you get advanced, boom, boom, boom. You see it in the NCAA basketball tournament every year.
Mm-hmm.
That's how great would this tournament have been this year, potentially. That's why you wanted it 16. Because if there's a 3-loss team and they had brutal injuries, and then they could still get in the playoffs and then they're healthier at the end of the year, that team may get hot and go on and win the whole thing, but we'll never know if that possibility doesn't exist.
Yeah. Here are the opening lines by BetMGM for the first round of games, the point spreads. Oregon 21.5-point favorite. Ole Miss is over James Madison. Ole Miss is a 16.5-point favorite at home over Tulane. A&M is a 3.5-point favorite at home over Miami, and Oklahoma is Alabama 2.5-point favorite at Oklahoma.
That's an interesting line.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's why I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I'm surprised by that one. We'll see. Actually, Buddy Pal, Chief Big Guy, he says, how does that seat get in Alabama? How hot does that seat get in Alabama if they lose to Oklahoma again?
Well, I think the powers that be at Alabama are smarter than that. I don't think his seat's hot at all. That guy's one of the best coaches in college football. He took over an Alabama program that Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time, left. And Caleb Downs, there's some really good players that walked out the door.
They did.
Left. Some All-Americans, first-round picks, right? That's a very difficult transition. But in 2 years, you've been to the playoffs 1 or 2 years, and you were knocking on the door the year before. I don't think his seat would be hot at all. Now, the Alabama fan base is going to hate anybody that doesn't win a national championship. That's the bottom line, right? But that doesn't mean that's smart. Who are you going to hire? Who are you going to hire at Alabama? Who are you going to hire right now? You hire somebody better than Kalen DeBoer?
The good ones are locked up.
Zero. Unless you get Dan Lanning, then maybe it's a push. You got to get. There's only one guy out there that can make that a push that would take the job.
I agree. I like that. You can't get Signetti. He just signed the deal. That ain't happening. All right. Let's. All right. Thank you for that. We appreciate that question. All right, Jerry. Let me ask you real quick before we get out of here. Once again, about the matchup for Texas in the bowl game. By now, most folks have heard Texas will be playing Michigan in the Cheez-It Bowl, the Citrus Bowl there in Orlando. Texas now a 4.5-point favorite over Michigan. Before we get out of here, let's talk about this matchup a little bit. A lot of familiarity. Texas just played them last season up there at Michigan. You're going to play them again, in 2027? I believe you got Michigan coming to Austin. Yep. But like you said, they only played twice historically. I can't believe that actually they haven't played more back in the day, but pre-modern era. But no, Texas, Michigan only played twice, you said, and Texas had the upper hand. That's good news.
Yeah, I mean, look, and this game is a pretty good – again, Rod, we just have to see who plays, right? Because that changes so much in these games. On paper, right now, really good matchup for Texas, I believe, because Michigan's going to be 60% run-heavy team. Underwood's a freshman quarterback. They really struggled in the throw game a lot of the season. That's the strength of the Texas defense, is rush defense. It's going to be a man-on-man game, a mano-a-mano game up front. It's going to be low man wins a lot of times in this game because you know what Michigan's bringing right at you. And then Michigan has struggled throwing the football consistently this year, which is a great place for the Texas secondary to come into this game. That doesn't mean they're without talent. Michigan has talent, right? Mm-hmm. But their throw game has been a real struggle at times this year. Now, the one area of this game where Michigan has a huge advantage over Texas is disciplined football. Texas is 131st in college football, averaging 8 penalties a game. Michigan is 7th. They only average 4 penalties a game. So they played a much more disciplined brand of football this year. Texas has played a more difficult schedule, obviously. I think Texas is favored for a reason. I think Texas matches up really well with Michigan right now on paper. But, again, we have to see who plays. I think Michigan could have more key defensive opt-outs than Texas, by the way, in this game. Because they have a bunch of senior guys who are maybe in that second, fourth round NFL draft range. I could see Michigan having 3-4 guys that are seniors opt out of this bowl game potentially on defense. And I think that would really hurt Michigan.
Yeah, I think that'll be because I like the matchup of Texas offense versus this Michigan defense.
Yes.
Not only because of what we saw with Sark versus Wink Martindale last season, but like kind of what you're talking about too. They could have a few guys decide to opt out of this thing. I feel like Texas offensively, we'll see because you got Trey Wiseman was brought up. We talked about Matt Miller having Trevor Gooseby in his top 15 overall players potentially coming out in this draft. So Texas offensively good, but if Arch is there and you have most of those weapons offensively in the receiving core, I like Texas in this matchup versus Michigan. But we shall see. Obviously, we got a lot of time to break it down and talk about it. All right, let's get to matter of fact, let's thank Matthew. We appreciate Matthew twisting and tweaking the dials. He's always the real MVP of any of these broadcasts. Thank you guys for all your questions, comments, and your participation. If we missed any of your questions or topics you want to discuss, we apologize about that. Please direct him to the gentleman, one of these gentlemen right here with us, Jerry Hamilton and Bobby Burton, bright and early tomorrow morning at Coffee and Football. That'll be starting up for you bright and early at 8:15. And, of course, you'll have your Monday night live stream. We'll have the Winning Drive, the primetime edition. Myself, Coach Bob Shipley, CJ Vogel joins us for that one. Lifetime Longhorn, my former teammate Stevie Lee usually comes on Monday, so it's always a really good time. So you can join us for that live stream as well. Thank you, Jerry. Great stuff as always, and thank each and every one of you for watching and for listening. For Jerry and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.